In a quiet Mormon community in Pocatello, Idaho, a family trusted their neighbor completely. Bob Broberg, Mary Ann Broberg, and their daughter Jan. He was charming, he was helpful, he was everywhere. And then he took her. Twice. But here's what makes this case insane. He didn't just kidnap her, he convinced her she was an alien. He slept with both of her parents and he assaulted her over 200 times. Pocatello, Idaho, the 1970s, a close knit Mormon community. The Broberg family, devout, trusting, welcoming, and their neighbor, Robert Berchtold, born in 1939, married with children, active in the same church, the picture of a family man. But Robert Berchtold wasn't just a neighbor, he was a predator, with a systematic plan to infiltrate, manipulate, and destroy a family from within. And he did it so effectively that even after he kidnapped their daughter, the parents still let him back in. This case, it's not just about abduction.
It's about how he got there. And I just have to say, this episode, this case is so crazy that I just want to let everybody know that this is probably not the HR approved episode that you're used to, kind of, sort of. I'm just going to tell you exactly how I feel about these people. So
Thing.
just prepare for it.
No, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad because it's a lot of what the fuck moment.
Mm,
Excuse my French,
hmm
but it's a lot of those. Like
Yes.
it's a lot because he didn't just groom Jan. He groomed both parents sexually, emotionally, psychologically. Sorry. He had affairs with the mother and the father.
But
That in itself is like
wow.
just mind blown. How many cases have you heard of that?
Never.
Me neither. I've never
And
heard
as
of
you
that.
hear the details, it's even crazier than what you're thinking right now if you haven't heard this case.
Right. Right. Because I mean, mom and dad, both of them, and that's what gave him complete and total control over this whole situation. The parents in their being in their own world, basically.
Hmm.
All right.
Well, let's do it.
I hope you're ready because we weren't ready. Welcome to Coffee and Crime with Mom. I'm Zaylee.
I'm Nicole, also known as Mom.
Each episode, we sit down with coffee and talk through fascinating true crime cases.
And sometimes try to understand how something this terrible could happen
So grab your coffee.
and settle in.
All right. What are we drinking, Mom?
So I got this white chocolate creamer that I put in this dark roast coffee, giving me a little smooth, creamy flavor today, but strong and layered.
Okay. Okay. Layered is one word for it. This case was more manipulation than I've ever seen. We're talking about a man who seduced both parents, kidnapped their daughter twice, convinced her she was half alien, and assaulted her over 200 times, and the family still didn't fully cut him off.
That's the part that just breaks your brain.
I know. It just exactly. But anyways, I'm having an iced ube
You and Miss
macchiato.
Ube.
Yes, yes, I got a thing for the ube, but I did switch it up a little bit. I
Okay.
added lavender and uh always do the vanilla bean, but I tried a half and half. I'd be switching it up with them. And it
Mm-hmm.
was pretty good. It was pretty good, but I think I like the vanilla sweet cream better.
Okay. All right.
All right, well, let's get into it. Let's set the scene. Pocatello, Idaho, mid 1970s. The Broberg family, Bob Broberg, the father, a florist, Mary Ann Broberg, the mother, a homemaker, and their three daughters, Jan, Karen, and Susan. They were a devout Mormon family, well respected in their community, active in their church, And they had a neighbor, Robert B. Berchtold, born in 1939, married to Gail Berchtold, four children of his own. He owned a drive in movie theater. He was charismatic, he was helpful, he was, by all appearances, a perfect family man.
So he looked completely safe.
That was the entire point. Yeah, Berchtold didn't just happen to be their neighbor. He selected them. He identified the Brobergs as a target specifically because they were trusting, because they were religious, because they had a young daughter who was innocent and accessible. And then he began the long game. Robert Berchtold, on the surface, was friendly, outgoing, trustworthy. A successful businessman, a churchgoer, a family man, but underneath, he was a calculated, predatory manipulator with a history of inappropriate behavior towards children.
So he'd done this before.
Unfortunately, he had patterns. Later investigations revealed that Berchtold had inappropriate interest in children before he targeted Jan. But in the 70s, in this community, nobody knew that. Or if they suspected, they didn't act. And as a, what is it? A preface? As a note to that, I don't know, preface isn't the
That
right
was,
word.
yeah.
But to my understanding, because I am slightly obsessed with the Mormons. If you're a Mormon, want to be my friend so we can talk and you can unignorize me, I would
Oh,
appreciate that.
yes. Please unignorize her.
Unignorize me. But from what I have understood and what I've gathered from all my many years of obsessions, is that Mormons are extremely trusting of those in their religion, and they are also very much like sweep it under the rug. Like, we know something is going on or it looks bad, then we're not going to talk about it like it didn't happen. Let's shut this down type situation.
And it's almost like the other people get embarrassed by the topic,
Yeah.
so they shy away from it. And to be fair, it's not just in the Mormon religion, you know, it's across religions. When you think people think and believe like you do, then you can't imagine that they would do these types of things, but that's what makes it easier for these predators to get close to kids.
No, I definitely agree. And I think the big thing that made Birchtold different from other predators was his methodology. He didn't just target the child, he targeted the entire family structure. He understood that in order to get to Jan, he needed to neutralize her parents. And so he did that by becoming indispensable to them and then by seducing them both. And I cannot wrap my mind around that because the seducing them both is very like it's it's out there. I can't. That's one of my moments where I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
What is even happening? When it first came up, when I first saw that documentary, Abducted in Plain Sight on Netflix, and I was listening, all I could think was, these people are telling us this story, like, it's not someone else telling us. Right, and they are literally explaining to whatever type of explanation it is, how they allowed is I don't it's
I need
crazy.
to know the name of their therapist because the kind of therapy they had to have to get to the point where they're comfortable enough to sit in front of the cameras and
Right,
tell their story like this, that would had to have been a lot of work. They didn't just wake up and was like, "We're gonna go out here and tell everybody this
right,
happened," because they tell you so often in the documentary that the reason why they did a lot of the things they did was because they did not want other people to know.
right.
Like, that in itself is just bewildering. But
Just wait. Just wait.
anywho, this case becomes truly disturbing rather quickly. And Berchtold didn't just befriend the Brobergs. He systematically engaged in sexual relationships with Bob and Mary Ann, separately, secretly, and strategically. And we're going to start with Mary Ann.
The mother?
Yeah, the mother. Berchtold began a secret romantic and sexual relationship with Mary Ann Broberg. And I'm just going to let you hear her opinion on Broberg because to me it was jarring.
He could give me a great feeling about myself. I was attracted to him.
What?
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 Guys, and the if you haven't watched the documentary or listened or know anything about this story, a lot of these things happen after they realize,
Yes, after.
after he takes her, this they and I don't understand. There's not enough trust. I have children, and there's no way that someone just goes away, takes my daughter, comes back around, and not only don't I do horrible things to him, I will not say on this podcast, but then I decide, he's attractive.
Well, so no, they had started the affair before. That's how he even got to the point where he was able to get close to her the way he was to take her the first time.
Mm.
Him and the mom had
It was
already
the mom. It was the
started.
dad that
Yeah,
started. Okay.
they had already started their affair, but
Mhm.
the mom and the dad both already had like uncomfortable feelings
Mhm.
about Berchtold.
Right, because they talked about how he would take pictures of her and how they felt like he gave her inappropriate attention. They're both saying this separately in this documentary, but then they kept going.
Berchtold used emotional manipulation by telling her that she was special, that he understood her in ways her husband didn't, and that they had a unique connection. He created emotional dependence. He used secrecy as a weapon. If anyone found out, her marriage would be destroyed, her family would be ruined, her standing in the church would be obliterated. And that is such a big thing for people who are religious, period. But for the Mormons, oh my goodness.
And it's just yeah, so she got trapped by shame, but that was the trick. That was the trick. I'm going to do these things and then you'll be afraid that I'm going to say something about what you did.
Exactly. That shame became a chain. Marion couldn't accuse Berchtold of anything without risking exposure. She couldn't push him away without explaining why. She was compromised emotionally, sexually, and psychologically. But here's where it gets even more calculated.
The father too.
The father, too, which this is the part, the mom, okay, but the father is the part that I'm like, what in the actual F and F?
And
Like,
listening to him tell you this story.
listening to him tell you the story is
This
insane.
is what I mean. It's like they don't know shame. Like I don't understand. They have so much shame in this situation, but no shame to sit there and tell us this story and all of
That's
these
the part.
horrible
They
details.
and you can tell when they in the documentary they do have they it's
Yes.
so much
Yes,
shame.
they do.
Just even talking about it, so much shame. But that's why I was saying the therapy they had to have gone through to be able to sit in front of that camera because they feel the shame. They know like this was a horrible situation and we played such a big part. And I guess maybe it was like my daughter needed this kind of to like let it go and that's why they did it. But I don't know. I don't know, but they did it. And Berchtold engaged in a separate, inappropriate sexual relationship with Bob.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Both parents.
yeah, both parents. They didn't know about each other. Berchtold kept these secrets compartmentalized. He told Marianne that Bob didn't understand her, and he told Bob that Marianne didn't understand him. He positioned himself as the only one who truly got each of them. And because both parents were now compromised, both had secrets to hide. Both were vulnerable to exposure. They could not unite against him. They couldn't compare notes. They couldn't say, this man is dangerous. We need to protect our daughter because he had so much dirt on the both of them.
He divided and conquered. It's so smart in the most devious, evil way, but he did it just right to put them both in a situation where they couldn't get together to even talk about it,
Oh, yeah.
to discuss what they thought might be happening or what's going on.
Yeah. And I feel like both of them probably would have taken this one to the other life
Mhm.
because the way he used shame and secrecy to create a cage around the entire family was genius.
Mhm.
And while the parents were tangled in their own guilt and confusion, Berchtold had unrestricted access to Jan. And I'm gonna let you hear the father's point of view on Berchtold.
Mr. Berchtold had such an effervescent, wonderful personality. We became very good friends.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Jan. Jan Broberg was 10 years old when Robert Berchtold first started paying special attention to her, just 10. He took her out on outings, just the two of them. He bought her gifts. He told her she was special, mature, different from other children. Classic grooming. Berchtold went further than typical grooming, though. He began preparing her for abduction months in advance, and that is whoa.
How was he preparing her?
He started telling her stories, elaborate science fiction narratives about aliens. He told her that she was actually half alien, that her biological father was an alien from another planet. He told her that she had been chosen for a special mission, and this mission required her to have a child with a male companion before she turned 16. And he did all of this by the parents. He told the parents he was going through therapy because he had been molested by a aunt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was an aunt when he was a child, and his therapist told him in order to get past that, then he needed to spend time alone with the Berchtold's daughter, Jan. And so the parents was like, okay. And this is how he did this. She would be asleep in her basement room, and he had a little tape recorder, and he would record these tapes and change his voice and make it seem like it was aliens talking to her. And he would go in, play these tapes while she was sleeping, and she would wake up to the sound of the aliens. Mind you, he hid the tape recorder, so obviously she didn't just see it. But then she heard the aliens and all the stuff that was going on, and then Broberg would not Broberg, sorry,
Berchtold.
Berchtold would come in, and then he would talk to her like, yeah, oh, I saw the aliens too. They told me this is our mission, and now we got to complete it. And that's how this started, how he got her into thinking that she was half alien, which the dedication to this, the making the tapes, the I went to therapy, the lies, the sneaking the tape recorder in her room, the oh, I'm popping out of the random darkness of your basement room. We've been through this experience together. This man was a predatory genius. Like, that sounds so horrible to say, but
He
he was
was.
so smart in how he did this.
And it's what's crazy when we talk about layered is one, the things he was telling her, they sound crazy even for a young girl to believe. But keep in mind that some of the stories that go along with different religions, much the Mormon religion is based on so many stories that are supernatural, or these people have these great powers. So in her 10-year-old mind being taught other things that are just as unbelievable to some people, it makes it easy for her to believe it. And then second of all, I don't care what kind of therapy you're going to, how I know you or anything else. You come to me and tell me you were molested and your doctor said, "Hey, here's how we fix this. You go spend time alone with somebody else's child." The first answer is absolutely the fuck not. You may not spend time alone with my daughter. But they had already ignored so many things that this was easy for them to overcome because they already said, okay, we're gonna let that go and let this happen. And we're not gonna say anything about the pictures. And we already have our own secrets. So he had been building up to this ridiculousness and they just kept going along with it to where none of this seemed weird to any of them.
No, because of the secrets he had on the parents, they were super compliant and everything he was doing. And the parents say over and over again, "This made me uncomfortable," or "Oh, this was weird," because we have three daughters, but Jan is the only one he's trying to pick up and take to go do places or buy gifts or do all this other things. And the sister talks about him too, and she says that it was awesome and that they loved being over there
Yeah.
with Berchtold and his family because their family was so much like his family. Like,
Mhm.
it was just an intertwined thing. So this is it. It is insane that the parents let it get to this point because us nowadays we would be like, well, like hell no. But and I don't have an explanation. I don't
Right,
know
because
what like the thinking was
a
behind that
lot of
because I
people.
feel like that should just be the thinking around
Right,
the
but like we were saying, at this time, people, it wasn't as at the forefront of everybody's mind, but to
right.
me, it doesn't need to be. The things that they're allowing are unnecessary things.
I
They're
think
going out of their way to allow unnecessary things with someone that they already feel uncomfortable about. And I'm sure that these people, like you said, have to go through all types of therapy. But I just feel like you put yourself out there when you did this documentary or docu-series for us to watch, and you're just telling us, I don't know. I don't want to be mean to them, but this is all just batshit crazy to me.
yeah, I definitely agree, and I don't feel like you can be having an affair with somebody and then in the same note be like, I feel like you're being inappropriate with my child, but I'm still gonna have an affair with you.
Right.
It's weird. But he was doing all of that to prepare her for sexual abuse. he framed it as destiny, as something bigger than her, as a cosmic requirement to save her entire family from destruction. He told her that if she did not complete this mission, if she did not have this child, her family would die, her sister would die, everyone she loved would be destroyed.
And she was only 10 years old.
Only 10 years old. And of course, she believed him because he was the trusted family friend, because her parents trusted him completely, obviously, because he had been grooming her for months on end, building up this fantasy world where she was so special and chosen and responsible for saving everyone she loved, which for a 10-year-old, oh my God, the weight that she had to have been carrying.
I can't imagine. I can't.
I know that's, she just went along. Poor baby had,
But everybody was going along with it. How is
yeah,
this 10-year-old girl supposed to know that this is crazy? Because
right.
her parents are going along with it.
Yeah, yeah. And it gets no better because on October 17th, 1974, Jan Broberg is 12 years old. Berchtold comes to the house and tells the Brobergs that he's taking Jan horseback riding. Well, he tells Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I don't know, because she has piano lessons, whatever, whatever. And Broberg was like, not Broberg, I keep doing that. Berchtold, too many B's. Berchtold told her, don't worry about it. I'll just pick her up from piano lessons and then we can go horseback riding. So she didn't hesitate. She trusted him completely. And so she lets him pick Jan up after piano lessons, takes her to his motorhome, which he has specially prepared. Inside, he has drugs, he has restraints, he has everything he needs. And he tells Jan to take this meds, it's her allergy medicine, but he was drugging her, and she has no recollection of any of this because she said she that he gave her the allergy meds and she kind of just drifted to sleep, and he drove her to Mexico.
They didn't stop him at the border?
This was 1974. Border crossings were different, and Berchtold had planned everything. He had paperwork, he had a story, and he told the authorities that Jan was his daughter. In Mexico, he continues the alien narrative with the recordings. He tells her that they're on a mission. He marries her legally in Mexico because the age of consent in the marriage laws were different. She only had to be 12. And then he began the sexual assaults.
How long was she gone?
I know you have to
I
take a
have
breath
so much to
because
say, and I'm trying not to just go off.
because it's insane. So Jan was gone for 5 weeks. For 5 weeks. The mom says that when she didn't come home, they got worried and she wanted to call the police. But Gail, Birchtold's wife, came over and asked her not to just wait it out because he would bring her back. And so they waited. And they had been in contact with him and talked to him. And he said he was going to bring her back. And they waited the 5 weeks. And the mom was like, oh, yeah, on separate occasions, I was like, we should tell somebody. And they were like, no, because, well, we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And the wife at what?
Because that's not why. They knew what he had on them. I don't care
Right.
what they say in that docuseries
But
because
there
it
is
makes
still
no sense that they wouldn't call the police.
for 5 weeks.
5 weeks
Yeah.
with my 12-year-old daughter.
12-year-old daughter. For 5 weeks, she was with Berchtold in Mexico, being raped repeatedly, being told it was her cosmic duty, and being told her family would die if she didn't cooperate. That is insane. And here's what makes this case just horrifying is Jan later stated that she was raped or sexually assaulted at least 200 times during her time with Berchtold. And she said that it wasn't like she doesn't have any memories of it being like a violent thing, like how rape
Mhm.
is that's normally associated with rape, like that's what you think. That he was very gentle, like he was trying to make it enjoyable for her.
Right, because he has a fantasy in his mind. And
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't really gone over the details of exactly what was happening when she was in this trailer,
Yeah.
but he had the same tape recorder. But this time, I mean, but so it's telling her this time, eventually, that she needs to have this baby. And then they had the recordings, the aliens that are on this recording, tell her that it's time for her to go ask him
Yeah.
to do what people do or what humans do that makes them happy. So not only does he rape her, but he sets it up to where she comes to him.
And ask for it. So
This
this is my
man
consent.
is
Yeah.
freaking scum. And he deserved to be set on fire.
On fire. Because I mean, 200 times in 5 weeks, over 200 times in 5 weeks. That's multiple times per day. Systematic, repeated sexual torture of a child, framed as a mission from aliens. He was a monster.
Such a monster.
Monster. And after 5 weeks, Berchtold brings Jan back. He drives her back. He tells the Brobergs that they had been on a trip. He had a story prepared, and the Brobergs, despite their daughter being gone for over a month with the married man, accept his explanation.
How is that even possible?
Okay,
How?
so he is a genius. Okay, it's his geniusery and the parents' idiocracy. I'm sorry, parents, but
They're idiots.
So
Or they behave like idiots. at
they
least.
behave like idiots. So before he brings her back, he tells her that there are three or four rules.
After they're arrested, because the parents, they're in the jail, and he bribes the jailer to bring her to his cell, and he tells her that her parents were coming, and then gives her these 3 rules.
Yeah. That she's not allowed to talk about anything about the mission. That she's not allowed to talk about that, obviously the aliens or any of the things they did inside of the trailer, because that pertains to the mission. And it was one of the things
Nothing to do with other men.
Nothing,
including her
she
father.
could not have anything to do with other men because it would compromise the mission, including her father. So, like, just think. So when they get her, once they come and pick her up from Mexico. Oh no, this isn't the right one.
No, this is right. We just missed the part where the wife Gail called them, and that's why he ended up bringing her back, because she tells them that they have to say that they have to give him permission to marry Jen in America.
There you go. Yeah. So she did. She called and told them that he would have to give them permission. And they were like, why? And then he called and was like, well, that's the only way I could get her back, whatever. Basically saying it has something to do with like crossing back over. She had to
Right,
be
because it
married to
wasn't
him.
legal here.
Right. He brings her back. They would not sign for him to marry her.
Thank God.
To make it legal in America. He was trying to get them to sign for it to be legal for them to be married in America, not for anything in Mexico, because that was already legal. They're married. So he brings her back. Then he talks to the mom. He talks to the dad, tells them that nothing was happening. It was just a vacation. He kept her too long. My bad. Apologizes. Jan never says anything.
She won't tell him anything.
No, because he's gave her all these rules. So somehow, I don't remember if it was the wife or Berchtold himself, but they got the parents to sign a paper saying that he never kidnapped their daughter. They gave him permission to take her, and that they didn't want to press any charges for him taking her to Mexico and keeping her for 5 weeks. What in the actual hell? How?
And you remember the FBI agent who was just like, they blew our whole case up.
They blew the case up.
They blew the whole case up.
He was mad as hell.
Because they did.
And
He's
he
been
did.
working and doing all this stuff, and then they signed this paper. And you know why they signed it? Because he was blackmailing them. He was holding this over their head, that he was going to tell everybody about the affairs he had with both of them, because
Marianne
they both
had the
affairs.
affair. Bob had the secret affair. Like, they had allowed this man unlimited access to their daughter, and acknowledge what really happened would mean acknowledging their own complicity. But also, because Berchtold manipulated them further, he told them that Jan had tried to seduce him. He told them that she was the problem. He flipped the narrative, making a 12-year-old girl the seductress and the 35-year-old man the victim.
Classic predator behavior, but their parents believing it.
Yep.
Every step of this, we just have to go back to the parents.
Yep. Yeah. Textbook. And it worked. The Brobergs didn't go to the police immediately. When they finally did, the charges were reduced. Berchtold was charged with a lesser offense, not kidnapping, not rape, but something minor, and he only served a few months. And then he was back in their lives with access to Jan right after he had just kidnapped them, like it was nothing wrong with
And
that.
they just let him back in.
Oh yeah, they just let him back in because the manipulation continued. It was too deep because he still had leverage over both parents, because the shame and secrets were still binding them, because he convicted them because he convinced them that they needed him, that he was sorry, that it wouldn't happen again. And that is in itself insane. And by this point, Jan was like, it went more from like, oh, he's Mr. B next door to she's in love with him at this
Because
point.
he's still
Like,
talking to her through all of this. He's still talking to
he is
her.
still talking to her. And I want you to hear how she describes what it was like for her at that age.
I loved him as deeply as I've ever loved anyone.
I mean, just hearing that tells you like how his grooming took effect, and it didn't matter that he had apologized that it wasn't going to happen again, because it did happen again. 2 years later, he took her, and this time he kept her even longer. August 1976. Jan Broberg is now 14 years old. Despite everything, despite the 5 weeks in Mexico, the 200 plus assaults, the marriage, the obvious danger, the Brobergs still allowed Berchtold access to their daughter, and he takes her. He enrolls her in a Catholic girls' school in Pasadena, California, and passes her off as his daughter. He rents an apartment nearby, and for 4 months, Jane Broberg is missing again.
4 months. That is, I mean, I just keep saying that's crazy because
There's no other way to
they
explain
just
it.
keep is. I mean, he must have just been like, cha-ching, like I hit the jackpot. I can do whatever I want to do, and they will still give me access to this
Oh,
little
he
girl.
was on predatory cloud nine. He was living his
Mm,
best life because I already got 5 weeks out of her. We're married in Mexico. Can't anybody tell me shit.
right.
Okay. We are married. And like, yeah, I got it. I got
I
it.
convinced her parents to tell the police that it was fine. It was a misunderstanding.
Just a
I
a
didn't
little
kidnap
tit
your
for tat.
child,
Yeah.
which is what it was.
Wholeheartedly, a whole kidnapping. And for the 4 months, the sexual assaults continued, during which time he reinforces the alien narrative, telling her that her family is in danger, that she must complete her mission, that she is running out of time. He isolates her completely. She is in a new school, in a new state, with no friends, no support system, completely dependent on him.
So how
And I
was she found?
how was she found? By miracle, really. But before we get into that, I want them to hear how Broberg felt about
Yeah.
Jan.
There'll never be anybody for me but Jan. Never.
Just sick and delusional is what it sounds like.
Yeah, very delusional, very sick. And like I said, he was so he's such a creep, but you could hear in there that like he's completely obsessed with her. So the fact
Mhm.
that he took her to that Catholic school, I mean, it was his it really was genius. He really could have got away with it, but
Yeah.
also that is how she got caught. That's how
Mm.
she was found. Somebody saw a resemblance of a missing poster when they looked at her. They had a suspicion about Berchtold's behavior and a gut feeling that something was wrong. I mean, the story that he gave the nuns at the school was that he was part of the CIA or the FBI, or one of the agencies, and he was like a spy, and he would be gone frequently, and that's why she was at the school. And so if anybody came looking for her, then it was bad guys trying to get to him.
Okay, so the first clue is if someone tells you they're in the CIA or the FBI, they're
And
not.
that they're a spy.
They're
Yeah.
not because they
Why would
wouldn't
they say
tell you
that?
if they were.
Right. So the nuns contacted the FBI, and Jan was recovered. But the damage, the psychological, physical, emotional damage was catastrophic. I mean, at this point,
This poor girl.
it was nothing you can do. Um, you would think, you would think that after 2 kidnappings, after hundreds of sexual assaults, after years of manipulation, the Brobergs would finally cut Berchtold out completely. But that is not what happened.
They still had contact with this man.
Surprisingly, for years, Berchtold continued to harass the family. He continued to manipulate. He continued to use the secrets he held over Bob and Marianne and the Brobergs, paralyzed by shame, by guilt, by the fear of exposure, struggled to fully break free. It wasn't until years later honestly decades later that the full truth came out, that Bob and Marianne acknowledged their affairs with Berchtold, that they admitted how their own manipulation had enabled the abuse of their daughter.
Wow, that must have just been devastating for Jan.
It was it had to have been, because here was what makes Jan Broberg extraordinary. She survived. And not only did she survive, she thrived. She became an actress, she built a career, she had a family of her own, and eventually she became an advocate. She told her story in the documentary we kept referring to, Abducted in Plain Sight, which revealed the full extent of the manipulation, the affairs, the alien stories, everything. She named what happened to her, she named the 200 plus assaults. She named the complicity of her parents, and she used her story to help others understand how predators operate. And like, it's not hard to understand at this point, really, what was going on, because they say like all the abuse and all this crazy stuff that is happening, and they have I'll play a clip for you of Berchtold basically threatening Marianne. At this point, this was part of when he had her the second time, and they were trying to get her to come back because she was calling the family and talking to them, and the FBI had started recording the phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So on one of them he is threatening them, and it does sound pretty crazy, so I'm gonna let you listen to it.
You're laying a trap for me. I'll kill you.
I mean, he threatening their life so that way he can get away with it, and it's just insane, and it's sad for her, and it's just years of abuse. It is so insane, and honestly, in the documentary, the mom says the only reason, like, really what really broke all of this up, outside of the fact that the FBI had to come get them from the Catholic school,
Mm-hmm.
was because, mind you, during the second time she was gone, the mom was still talking to
Berchtold.
Berchtold, and he was trying to get her to leave her husband to be with him,
Mm-hmm.
and she was considering it. And then he took Jan again, and all this was happening. Mind you, while he has Jan, he's still sweet talking mom. Mom's like, oh, maybe, maybe, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, when she realized Jan wasn't coming back, she was like, I'm not leaving my husband. And so that broke, because then she told her husband what was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and it came out, or Berchtold told Marianne about the affair with her husband, and then told Bob that he was having an affair with Marianne,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that it would crumble everything. And that's when they were like, this is what's happening, but I'm not leaving you, because he put her out. He put
Oh yeah,
Marianne
put her
out.
out. Yeah.
And she was like, I'm not leaving. I want to work on our family, and came back. And then after that, that's when they started like really going after Berchtold. But
Mm-hmm.
it took all of that.
And just think about it, remember at one point, Jan tells Marianne and the dad that she wants to marry B, or Robert
Yes.
Berchtold. And that was during the time that the mom was still having an affair with him, considering leaving.
That was right after she came back.
Right, considering leaving him. And then they find that, then she comes in. So I mean, she had to know during all this that when she was at the Catholic school, that that's where she was, even though he kept calling, acting like he was talking to her. And she said she didn't want to tell him where she was, or that she was earning money the hard way, which meant she was being a sex worker to gain, to get money.
Which was not true.
It
She
was
was at
not
the
true.
Catholic school.
Right.
She was at the Catholic school. And I don't remember if it was after the first abduction, but I can't remember if this is after she came back. It had to have been before. So before the second time he took her and enrolled her in the Catholic school, he went to go stay somewhere. I can't remember when he got out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
It was far enough that Jan had to get on a plane, but she kept bugging her mom about going to see B, and B was calling, trying to get the mom to send Jan out there,
Mm-hmm.
and she kept saying no. And eventually she said Jan kept throwing a fit about it, so she put Jan on a plane and sent her to Berchtold for 2 weeks while he was still sexually assaulting her. The 2 weeks he did return her, but that just gave them time to work out a plan, because then afterwards he came in and she was like, I want to marry him. And they were like, no, you're not marrying B, whatever. Like, that's inappropriate, whatever, whatever, whatever. They thought it was like a kiddie thing. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
taking her seriously. And then one day she came out of her room, peeked down the hallway, and her mom saw her and said something. And she turned around and went back to the room. And that night is when she left.
Mm-hmm.
And Berchtold came and took her out of the window from her basement room, and then they went and he took her to California and enrolled her in the Catholic school. Like, his dedication to this
Oh yeah,
girl.
he was obsessed with her.
Oh, if he did not get locked up, she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, her life, and she would have been married and been in
Yeah.
This whole really thought she was in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to spend some time on the psychology here because this case is unique in how thorough Berchtold manipulated everyone. Okay. So we're going to break down the tactics. First was grooming. He didn't just groom Jan, he groomed the entire family. He spent years building everyone's trust, becoming indispensable, creating emotional bonds that would later be used as chains. Isolation, he used by isolating Jan emotionally by making her believe she was special, different, and an alien. And then he isolated the parents from each other with their affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And he prevented unified action by ensuring they couldn't communicate about their shared manipulation, which super smart.
Wow.
But you know how dedicated you have to be to like enter a gay relationship, a sexual relationship with somebody to get to somebody else. Like
Right.
that insane is that
He's he has
is
some
mind
mental
blowing.
issues. He
Yeah.
definitely did.
And then his alien narrative was sophisticated psychological warfare because he was framing the sexual abuse as a cosmic mission. He gave Jan a reason to cooperate and made her feel chosen rather than victimized. He created a fantasy world where resistance meant destruction of her family and made the abuse seem like destiny rather than crime. So I'm not sure if for him it was just like, this is going to make it easier for me, or if it was that put with, let me put it this way, so for her it's not so emotionally like distraught, because I think he really, in his disgusted mind, he really loved her. So like maybe that's why he did that, like let's do this so she doesn't think it's such a horrible
So,
thing.
right. I don't think he was in love with her. I think he was obsessed with her. And this story just made it easier to get her to go along with what he wanted. He didn't want a
Okay.
fighting victim. He wanted this was a fantasy. So he wanted her to want to be a part of this. And all of it was a buildup so that it seemed like she wanted it. She was coerced and lied to and deceived into believing this fantasy, and it made it easier for him to do what he wanted to do.
So nothing about actually caring about her and everything about just getting what he wanted.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and with the shame and the secrecy, the affairs with both parents were the master stroke. By compromising both Bob and Marianne, he ensured they could never act against him. And the long-term control, even after the kidnappings, maintaining contact with all of them, and he would call nonstop. Like it was a
Mhm.
problem. He
Mhm.
did not let go. He continued to manipulate, to threaten, to weave himself into their lives.
Yeah, he was playing the long game like we've been saying.
Yeah, the longest game, the whole of his life game is what he was doing.
Mhm.
And it wasn't impulsive. This was calculated, systematic, patient predation.
Mhm.
I don't know what that
Like being
means.
a predator.
Oh, okay. Patient
Predation.
predation over years. He invested years in grooming this family, and it paid off for him in access to a child he assaulted over 200 times. I keep coming back to the number 200 times. That was the number of times that minimum
Mhm.
Jan Broberg was raped or sexually assaulted by Robert Berchtold. And the first 100 times happened because her parents, loving, well meaning, devout parents, were so thoroughly manipulated that they handed her to her abuser. And you can see when you watch the documentary, like when the dad talks about it, he really was distraught. Or even when you listen to the call when he talks to her, you could
Mhm.
tell it's a lot of like, I really care. They just were so
They
dumb.
I mean, when you talk about that call, when she called for the first time after she was gone to Mexico, I mean to California, and she called them and the mom is like, "Your dad's coming. Can you just wait a second?" And when he gets on that phone, you can
Yes.
hear the desperation in his voice. And like I was telling you, when you're watching both of them talk, they just look sweet and cuddly and it's like, "Oh my God, you feel bad for them." But
Yes.
then you think about their I don't know what the word is, but whatever it was that they were going through, whatever they were displaying, left their daughter just
Completely
open
available.
and
Yeah.
vulnerable to this man.
Yeah. They did a horrible job. And I mean, for me, that's the hardest part because we want to believe that good parents protect their children automatically, that love is enough, and that predators are obvious monsters. But Birchtold proves how wrong that is. He wasn't a monster in appearance. He was charming, he was helpful, he was trusted, and he used that trust, plus the affairs, plus the alien narrative, plus systematic isolation to destroy Jan's childhood.
But Jen survived.
Yeah, she survived, and more than that, she speaks. She tells the truth. She names all the assaults, the parental complicity. She refuses to let Berchtold have the final word. And in doing so, she helps other survivors understand that what happened to them wasn't their fault, even if they were manipulated or they were confused, if they didn't fight back, and even if they believed impossible stories like the aliens.
Hmm.
She helps parents understand that predators don't look dangerous. They look like friends. They
Hmm.
look like family. They look like Robert Berchtold.
This case is just the when you watch the documentary and you see even after all of this and she starts her organization and she's speaking out on it, and then he was showing up at her speaking events to the in harassing her to the point where those the guys from the motorcycle gang had to come and protect her
Yeah.
because he just kept showing up. He wasn't going to leave her alone.
No, they had to lock him up.
Hmm.
They had to lock him up. And this is insane for me because I feel like most parents would probably feel exactly how we feel like, what the fuck were y'all doing?
Yes.
And it's really hard to get into a place where you can understand the parents' perspective on any of
I just
this.
can't.
No, I'm having the hardest time.
Although I feel for them because I
Oh,
do
yeah.
believe that they really, really love their daughter. I just cannot wrap my mind around any person, especially like you have 3 daughters and he's coming to pick up 1 daughter. He wants to take pictures of 1 daughter. You're picking up on these things and you don't cut it out.
No, you just keep letting it go. That's crazy. Well, I hope that y'all enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you guys, if you aren't following us, you follow us everywhere. Coffee and Crime with Mom. That's on all platforms. And please make sure that you guys comment and write reviews
And
and
rate us.
stars and
Yes,
all of
please.
that.
We
Yes,
we
please.
need
It means so
it
much.
helps us be seen more. So if you like us, tell your friends about us. Share our posts if you're on Instagram or Facebook or any other places. Share them and make sure that you rate us because it really does help us.
Yeah, and that is all for this one. This what we got, this crazy ass story. And we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us, Crime Pals.
Thank you so much.